Welcome back, episode 9 of Coffee with Cardi. My guest today is a good friend, a former You or I student, Niki Lattarulo. Um, so Niki is currently a reporter in Texas. So that's fun.
So fun.
So I guess how are you doing, obviously, with the worldwide pandemic happening?
Well, normally this time of year, so my position is news and sports. I'm the number 3 sports person. So during football and basketball, I'm mostly sports because they need a lot of help with how much sports we have here. But at this time of the year, I would be like 70-30 news versus sports. So for me, um it's not that big of a change because I would be doing news anyway, but our sports director and our number 2 sports person is also doing full news right now. So it's pretty much all hands on deck. Everyone's working from home. So we our job is the same, but it's mostly only coronavirus coverage and everything is being done digitally. Now Texas is completely back open. Just like limitations on capacity and things, but nothing is really closed. So finally, life is going back to normal. I think we're going to go back to work next Friday. But from when this started to now, it's been like a huge change because the only thing we cover is coronavirus and there's no sports. So it's literally just full news every day. So that's been hard because I also can't go home, just stranded here. So yeah, but I mean, I think it's kind of cool working in news during this to see how it gets covered.
Yeah, definitely, because it's something that I don't think we've ever been taught about in classes or anything. So I
Right.
forgot to mention Niki works for KCNN. No, KCEN. But we're gonna rewind a little bit to I guess you're obviously from Jersey. I think anybody who knows you knows that. So I guess when did you know that you're like, this is like what I want to do? Like sports was like, when did that sort of come into your mind? Like, this is
When
my
I
career.
was in like 3rd or 4th grade, the Yankees were in. It wasn't when they won the World Series. It was like they won the American League Championship or something. And Derek Jeter was in the locker room with Kim Jones, who was the clubhouse reporter, and he was like pouring champagne on her head because they won. And I was like, how did this girl get this job? I want to do that. And then from then on, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be a
Mm-hmm.
sideline, like sports reporter. And obviously, as you get older, you realize it seems like so out of reach when you're young. It's like, how do you get on TV? Like, no one ever teaches you how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got to college, I was just like, obviously, you or I didn't have anything to really help us. We kind of had to do it ourselves. So I was like, is this not going to work? Should I just do something else? And because a lot of people at URI kind of, the advisors were like, sorry, we don't know how to help you. People don't really do this. We haven't had people go into sports broadcasting. We don't have broadcasting. So I kind of started to maybe think about trying to do other stuff when I was a freshman. And then right when um, I saw like how people get into reporting, I was like, okay, I think I could do this. And then I just never looked back. I was like, if I've made it this far, I'm not going to stop trying. So I always knew I wanted to be a sports reporter. I never wanted to be a news reporter because I don't like news. Everyone here, even that I work with, know that I despise news. I have to do it, but everyone knows it's not my favorite thing. So I want to be full sports, but got to start somewhere. And I'm lucky to be in a market like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't. Not. I mean, I get it. News is important, but yeah, I'm with you on that one.
This is like depressing. It's hard to go to say like a funeral, have to cover a funeral. It's just awkward to have to like talk to someone and try to get interviews with someone whose kid just died or something, It's like, I'm not the type of person that likes hard hitting news anyway. So to have to be the one like conducting an interview, it's just like uncomfortable. So I do it and I think I do a good job at news. Sometimes like my news live shots, I think are better than my sports live shots, but I just like, it's fine for now, but after this job, I would never take something with news involved.
Yeah. I think I think Kate and I talked about it a lot on her episode, was sort of just you and Stone were really just like you guys were just like, yeah, we're going to do it. There's not really a platform to do it, but this is what we want to do. And Kate and I definitely benefited from that.
Yeah, it honestly helped when I was looking for jobs to like explain to news directors that I obviously wanted to do it that bad that I kind of just made a way to do it. I just sacrificed a lot of stuff to do it. We paid our own way to go to stuff, and we benefited from it because we learned more, learning from reporters rather than learning from professors that had never done it.
Yeah, that's something that, I mean, now looking back, because we're both old and graduated, looking back, it's like, it's crazy that like we were sort of like on the front of that, and now they have a sports media major and there's all this stuff dedicated to it.
So at least we had nothing, but it still worked out. I mean, you just have to be a different type of person to want to do this job.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew when we were in school watching all the Rhode Island media, you know what it's like. It's not glamorous at all. It's like painful half the time. So seeing that, we were like, okay, we know what we're getting ourselves into. So coming here wasn't like a shock at all. But I think students that come from big schools like Syracuse, or where they learn everything in class, they come and they're an MMJ and they're just like, oh my God, I was not expecting this. I am shocked. But we learned from local news. So I knew what I was getting myself into, and everyone was pretty honest. Like Ruthie and Nick and all them, they were so honest when I wanted to be an MMJ. They were like, it's not cute.
Yeah, I think that's like something that definitely is like one of the first days with Nick. I was like, he's like, yeah, this job is, I'm working like 70 hours a week. Like I don't get home till like 2 a.m., but like I love it. And I think that's why we all do it. But no, for anyone who's like watches them on TV and be like, oh, that's a really cool life, and like it must be fun to work there.
And then you think, yeah, you guys know. That's why when I talk, like Kate's looking for a job, obviously, and she knows, like, I'm gonna be dead honest with her, because if I'm in market, I think this is 82, and I think taking news and sports in this market was completely fine because I'm in such a big market. I'm lucky to be able to get a job here. I wouldn't have taken news and sports in a market above 100, because then I think I was good enough to be full sports in a small market. But here, so I say, if it's a really small market, you have to be honest with yourself. Like, you're going to be miserable. If you're going to be miserable just living there. Yeah. Never mind adding news that you don't like. So, yeah, I think it's good that we learn from people that are honest. So I try to be honest with everyone else, because I don't hide anything that goes on. And I'm in a great station where there's literally nothing sketchy. But this industry, you have to be careful, because some small markets are like, you're going to be so misery.
Yeah. So sort of what is like, take me back like a year ago, I guess, like, I remember you had that Snapchat of you just crying on your street, and I was like, that's ridiculous. Like, I'm not going to do that. And then I was moving out and I like started to get choked up, and I was like, damn, like this is sad. But,
it's sad.
So a year ago, cause you didn't get your job, in Texas till like July. So what was sort of like your mindset as you like finished up at URI and just sort of ventured out there?
I try to tell everyone that's just graduating to not rush into anything, because for me, I started applying to jobs April 1st, which was so early and I didn't realize. And Ian Steele was like, Niki, you need to not apply till like May, because first of all, enjoy your senior year. And second of all, people don't leave, because if you think about it, we graduate in May. Jobs normally open up in May and June, not April. Who's leaving? So I went in April or March to a job interview in North Carolina, and it was market 100. And like, they were just like, kind of, you need to start right away, like either right after graduation or finish your classes online. Like, we need you now. And I was just like, I already missed out on so much of, I think I did a good job balancing. Like, I went to all the basketball games. I went to all the football games. I went on the road, but I never turned down going out with my friends, because I knew I was going to have to move. So that job, I was like, okay, no, I'm not going to leave school early, and I'm not going to move right after graduation. So then I tried to like take a step back and just be like, okay, let me enjoy my senior year. But I ended up flying to like 4 different places for interviews from while I was still like in school, kind of. And I was like, okay, just not do this, because none of the jobs felt right. So then I was like, let me enjoy my senior year, the end. Let me enjoy graduation, because I loved URI. Like, I was an emotional mess when I had to leave, because I knew from from junior year that I was gonna have to move to the middle of nowhere. So I was like, I'm not gonna see my friends that much after graduation. I didn't want to leave like anyone, my family, my friends, anyone at school. So I think the last day of school we were leaving, I was more emotional because I was leaving school and then I was leaving like that lifestyle. Like I was leaving being a kid and now I was gonna have to grow up so fast and move alone and live alone and move across the country. I didn't even know how you go about moving across the country. I was like, I don't even have a job and I'm already nervous about it. So I went to Louisiana right after graduation and that job just didn't feel right. Like nothing against the station, just like the area was so not what we're used to. And they were offering me half news, half sports. And it was like market 140 or something. And I was like, I'm not doing this. And so I was like, okay, I'm turning this down. I know more jobs are going to come up. And then this one just came out of nowhere. And that's why everyone says, like the right job, you'll know. So it just like, I didn't even apply for it. Like I posted on Facebook in like a group and someone was like, oh, I'm leaving. And the number 3 is moving up. So like that position will be open, email our news director. And I emailed him. And then from there it was like phone calls. And then I never even went. They just offered me.
Wow.
I just took it because I was like, this is market 80. Like Baylor's here, there's good sports, like high school football in Texas is huge. So I just like knew. I was like, okay, I'm going. And then I also didn't have to move here till like August 1st. So I was able to enjoy the rest of the summer. I had like pretty much a summer here. And that's why I tell people like, there's no rush. If you don't move till September, who cares? Like, if you could still live at home, who cares? The minute you get here, you're going to never have a break and you're not going to be able to come home that often. So enjoy the summer. Like I went down the shore for Memorial Day weekend and I was like having the best time and I don't regret ever turning down those jobs because I feel like it fell into place, which normally.
So then what was the first couple months there? Like, was it sort of a mix of just like nerves and just
I was unstable. Like, I was unstable. And I tell it to everyone, like, my people at work know, and they like people had to console me every day. Not because of the living. It was like, I was leaving my friends and family. I was just like going from living with all my friends for 4 years to living alone in a place where I didn't know anyone. It sounds so stupid, but like watching everyone go out together and then watching everyone go back to school. Not that I was even that good of friends with the people younger, just like seeing everyone still living their life normally. And I was in the middle of Texas, like I also like went from never being on live TV to like my first week, they were like, okay, high school football started, you're at the game of the week, you're live with a coach. And I had no idea what the schools were. I had no idea about who won even state that year. Like you have to learn as you go along. I was just thrown into it, which is good. They trusted me, but I was also just like mentally not well that first, like, I got here in August. I think from August to like December, I was like really not in a good place. Cause I was just not even with the job, but the hours are so long that like you don't have time to even think about anything. So I would come home and just like have a mental breakdown every day. And I would speak to people like Ruthie and anyone that has done this. And they were like, it's normal. You're leaving where you're from. You're leaving your friends and family. Like you're in Texas. Like I'm not from here. Texas is so, no disrespect to anyone from Texas. I love Texas now, but it was just like such a culture shock coming here. And like, first of all, it was 110 degrees every day. I was sweating, so painful at high school football. I was having acne because I was sweating my makeup off. I had no idea what to do. And I didn't know anyone. I didn't have friends. And then my friend Darby, who came from Midland, she came here to work at Channel 10. And we literally like instantly became friends. And then from then on, she got here in like October. Once we started like going out and being social and like going to bars and like doing normal stuff, like, my life kind of like went back to being like a little normal. So I was fine. And then once like January came, I was like fine, which is like recent. Cause like, I feel like I still just got here, but then like all this had to happen. So I was like, I'm mentally so fine now, but I was like not well for the first few months. And I say that to everyone, like just stick it out because it is weird. Like you're moving alone. And then I had a stalker situation. Yeah, this is weird. Being like people having to have also like a reputation, like people know who you are and like people watch you and they just judge you right away because they don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a lot to handle at first. But it's like my first job out of school, so I feel like that's normal. But the first 2 months was really not good.
For people who are listening, they probably think you hate your life. But
No, now I've always loved my job. It was just like the adjusting to living
mhm.
alone in the middle of nowhere, like, and having a job that's so demanding was so hard. And then you just get used to it.
I know there have been some positives though, in your time, a lot of positives. You've covered 2 college game days. You've met some of your heroes. So what was the first like college game day covering for you? Like Baylor's been huge this past year.
I got really lucky with like the sports. So we had, I think like 4 of our teams go to state for high school football. So high school football, we got to cover it all the way to state. So even if you're in some areas of Texas, like all their teams would lose in the first round. So they'd be done with high school football early. We did high school football all the way till December. Then we have a Division III school here that wins the national championship every year. So they're really good at football. And then I mean, I didn't know Baylor football was that. I mean, the only reason I honestly knew about Baylor football was because of like the whole Art Briles scandal, the couple of years ago. And then I knew who Matt Rule was because he's from New Jersey and because he coached at Temple. So they were like, okay, you have to go to the media availability. And I was talking to him and I was like, oh, he like knows people that I know. It's so weird. And then I just realized like the environment surrounding it is like so big. Like normally we don't have where we're from college football that's like good and big. Like Rutgers isn't like, what's the closest school? Like Penn State? I feel like UConn's not that good.
No.
Not big. Rhode Island's bad, no offense. Like not a big deal. So the first game I was covering it for news. I was covering like the traffic of getting to McLean Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And then my shift was over. So they were like, you just come to the game. And I was just like, the fact that I'm covering here, I'm just like here and I'm just like on the field shooting this game right now is just like, I felt like I was at like the Patriots game. Like it feels like NFL. It's like so big. And then they were undefeated. I was just like, how did I get so lucky that I come here and they're literally 11-0 or whatever they were at that point. And then college game day came and that was huge. I couldn't even believe that was happening. So we covered that. We had like team coverage. So I covered it for news and then I just still like went to the game and stuff.
Yeah.
That was so cool. And then they went to the Big 12 championship, but I didn't go to that because I was covering basketball. And then they went to the Sugar Bowl. But I didn't go to that because I was anchoring. Since I'm the number 3, I'm like the fill-in anchor. So I anchored twice a week during football season or 3 times a week. So I got a lot of anchor experience. And then when they go on the road, I anchored for like a week, which is good experience. But and then basketball, so obviously they lost. They almost went to the college football playoff. Like I can't even believe they literally almost went to that. And I was here. Like crazy that they were that good. I got to meet so many reporters and like analysts that are national and get like advice from them and talk to them. So that was so cool because I'm so young. That normally doesn't happen. And then basketball came and they were ranked number 1 in the country. I was just like, I'm literally covering the number 1 team in the nation. I covered a lot of basketball because there's just so many more games that I was like, at all the games. And then the girls also, they won the national championship last year. So girls basketball had more fans than boys basketball or men's. I always say girls and boys. And everyone's like, it's not. And then ESPN College Game Day came again. So I covered the basketball one. I was like live for 2 days. I did the lock-in when all the students slept there. And then I actually covered the game day. The game they obviously lost. But football and basketball lost on game day.
Football one was worse too because they were up a lot.
Don't even get me started on that one. That one was so bad. Yeah, so I've got so lucky. And then I honestly think that I thought men's and women's were both going to go to the Final Four in March Madness, which would have been really cool because I would have won. But Corona. So next year, I'm hoping that every team is still good. Now there's a new football. Oh, I also covered Matt Rule leaving, which that was honestly, I have to say, one of the highlights of my career so far, because Bleacher Report literally posted about me because I broke news and they posted it. They were like, per Niki Lattarulo, and I was just like, I just broke news. Like, I did this job. Like, that's crazy. And I went to Matt Rule's front door and knocked on his door to try to get him to confirm it. And he came out and told us, like, fully to my face, he said it. And I was just like, I'm standing at your house and you're literally telling me right now.
It was the Jersey connection.
Yes. Everyone's like, why does he love you? I'm like, Jersey. Like, hello, he cannot. So yeah, that was cool. That was like really cool. And then the new head coach came, so I got to cover a new head coaching search and like the introductory press conference. So I've honestly got so lucky. I think that also helped with like adjusting that I was covering such cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also get to cover coronavirus, which is so good for my reporting career. I've learned how to do breaking news. I've learned how to, I mean, the thing is, reporters that have been in this industry for like 40 years and anchors have never dealt with anything like this. And I've been in it for not even a year and I've never either. So everyone's just learning together. Like they don't expect you, they're not going to be like, oh, you're doing a bad job, because everyone's just learning at once.
Yeah.
So it's been like, I've got so lucky, but the adjustment was just hard. That's the only thing, but that's anywhere.
Yeah. You covered, obviously, like you said, a lot of high school football, especially in Texas, where we all know it's huge. How close is it to Friday Night Lights?
Okay, so I went to literally the high school, or it's not a real town, but it's in Pflugerville, which is near Austin. So we covered a game for playoffs, which was across the street from where they played in the show. That stadium was soccer, and I was just like, I can't believe it, because I watched the show when I got here. I never watched it before. I watched a movie, but I never seen the show, and then I came here. This is so real. High school football is like, you can't even describe how much people care here. I mean, at home, obviously, the all-boys school, like I went to an all-girls school. The boys' school was like huge at football, like ranked in the country. Like we traveled around and played schools in Texas and stuff. But the atmosphere here, like the stadiums are bigger than Meade Stadium. Like they look like college Division I stadiums for high school football, and they fill them up. And the kids are so, when you interview them, they sound like they think they're in the NFL. Like this is like their life. The coaches, I mean, I guess at home too, the kids are like so into it, but here it's just like a different, there's like the TCU head coach, like the Oklahoma head coach is like standing at the games, like because they're recruiting all these kids. So covering the games is cool. Like we do live interviews with the coaches before, and especially where we're from, we're in the number one market, so no one cares about local sports, sadly. So we never experience like the local news coming to cover high school football. So I didn't realize that we have a 30-minute or longer high school football show every Friday night. Like they did it in Rhode Island, but it's not the same at all.
Yeah.
It's so big here. So it's definitely like Friday Night Lights. You could tell these kids are, a lot of them like go Division I, and they have, this is their like life. And the schools are huge. Like one of the schools here has an indoor football practice facility for high school. And I was like, where are you guys practicing? He's like, oh, in the indoor facility. And I was just like, where? And it was like literally a full-on football field inside. I was just like, is this normal? It's crazy. But it's like, I tell anyone that wants to be a sports reporter, if you can get a job in Texas. I always wanted to come to Texas since I was younger. I like was obsessed with Texas because cheerleading was so big. And then I came here. Oh, also what I did was cool was when Cheer on Netflix came out, the school is here. It's in Corsicana, which is like an hour away. And I've been obsessed with Navarro since I was like a kid because I always thought they were so good. So when that came out, I pitched like, can I go there and do a story on it? And they were like, yeah. And I went, and the story went viral. I had like 300,000 views or something. So I got a lot of good experience. I don't want to leave. Like my contract's up in a year.
Yeah.
Obviously I want to go to a bigger market where I'm like sports fully, but like, I feel like anywhere I go from here, I'm not going to get the same. Like I've covered so much cool stuff here. I don't know where I would go that has this good of stuff.
That's the thing. I mean, especially like I'm sure for you, it hasn't felt like it's been a year already, and definitely just like it's crazy how like we build it up in our minds, like, oh, I don't want to go somewhere for 2 years, but then when you're in it and you're there, you're just like it flies by.
Everyone says, well, the Louisiana job was a 3-year contract, and I was like, absolutely not. I'm not going there for 3 years, which it's granted a small market. There's not really a lot of sports there. Like I wouldn't have wanted to go there for 3 years. But everyone was like, 2 years is not even enough because I agree. The first year, you don't know what you're doing yet. So my first football season, I can't use that stuff for my reel. I was so bad. And I didn't know what I was talking about in any of the high schools. So I was just saying like surface level, like facts. I wasn't like saying the storyline because I didn't know it. I just got there. And then once it's over, then I'm like news. And then this football season, which needs to happen, I know way more what I'm doing. So I feel like I'm going to be way better at my live shots and like my anchoring of our Friday night football show. And then, so I think one more football season, I'll be good to go to like a bigger market, but I can't even believe that it's almost going to be a year since I'm here in August, like not almost, but like 2 months, which
Mm-hmm.
fly. So anyone that thinks 2 years is a long time. It's literally not. I'm pushing 23. I'm
Um,
literally 23.
so what, I guess, in your coverage of the pandemic, what was been like the weirdest story that you've had to cover, or just like something that you just completely didn't think of that like was a problem? Because I know you covered on Easter Sunday. I think you went to the church and they had the drive-in services.
It just like, I think the biggest thing is we don't realize how much stuff relates to us like being close to people. So
Mhm.
it's just like everything's closed. And obviously where you guys are, it's way worse. It was never that bad here. Like we had less cases in the entire state of Texas than we have in Bergen County, New Jersey. But I think something that was really cool, but also like creepy. I did a story on 2 nurses from a hospital here that were going, they said to New York to help in the ICU. So everyone at work knows I'm from there. So they're just like, oh, can you do the story? So I was like, oh, which hospital in New York City are they going to? And they were like, we're going to New Jersey. We're going to Pascack Valley. And that's literally my town. Like, that's literally where I was born. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so weird. Like, the people in the hospital are people I probably know.
Mhm.
It's just like, it was so bad in that one area where I'm actually from. So that was like weird that I live there. And that's because everyone's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's where you're from. I'm just like, my family's fine, but it's like a little creepy. I can't go home. But like learning how to do everything digitally, I feel like I've gotten so much experience just covering this and having to be creative on how, I mean, I go live from my house. It's so weird. It's just like so uncomfortable and awkward. But I think when coronavirus first happened, when it was only in China, there was one student at Baylor who like went to China and then they thought he had it. So it was like breaking news, like there's a
Mhm.
student that could have it. And I had to go on the breaking news, like my first big breaking news for news. And I was like, wow, I actually did such a good job for just like talking off the cuff. And I was like, I kind of like doing that. Like I love going on breaking news and being live. If I That's the thing about news. Like I don't like dumb news stories. I don't like doing like something stupid like I don't even know. Sometimes when you're a news reporter, you have to cover like random stuff. Like I've done probably 15 parades, like birthday parades and all that kind of stuff. Like feel good stories, like you don't have time to tell them. It's a day turn. So you get the assignment at 2 and then you have to have the story by 6. So you have to rush and you can't really do like a good job telling the story. So I'm just like, okay, I'm going all this stuff, interviewing these people. I'm just throwing it together. And like, I try to do my best, but when you go on breaking news, like you don't have to tell a story. You're just telling everyone what you're doing. It's like sports. It's just like, give the information. You don't need to write a script. You just talk, the video shows. And it's like, you're actually giving people facts that they need to see. When you're doing a random story, like a feel good story, obviously like the community likes those type of things, but you're not like helping anyone. You're not giving like facts. So
Mhm.
that's why I like going on breaking news, because it compares enough to sports, but I don't like being just a news reporter, like just, oh, this like random, like grand opening of a new hair salon or something. Like I'm bored.
The parade things where people honk their horns.
Yes, I've done like 20 of those. And like I love going to things that aren't sad. Like, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, it's just like I'm kind of bored with coronavirus. When it's not about coronavirus, it's about like what people are doing because coronavirus. Like I went to the gyms the other day and I was like grossed out. I had to go inside. I was just like, people are sweating and they don't even care.
Uh, we'll switch it up because a lot of people know that you're obviously from New Jersey, as we've mentioned, but you're also probably the biggest and the only Chiefs fan that I know.
Oh yes.
And they did just happen to win the Super Bowl before the world came crashing down.
Yep.
What was that like? I mean, because I know you went home to Jersey for that with your whole family.
Mm-hmm.
What was, I mean, because the
So
Chiefs have been bad for a while.
okay, Chiefs have been bad forever. Obviously, everyone thought I was like a bandwagon fan because when Patrick Mahomes came. But if anyone knows me, they know my dad's a diehard for just because when he was little, he became a Chiefs fan. My family's diehard. So when I came here, people care about the Chiefs just because Patrick Mahomes went to Texas Tech and he's from Tyler, which is like not far from here. So he played Texas high school football. He was in the Big 12. So people here like don't hate on the Chiefs. They actually just like because the Cowboys normally are bad. The Texans are good a little now, but people like Patrick Mahomes. So everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're a Chiefs fan." Everyone's kind of supports me here with it.
Yeah.
So when I don't have that many vacation days, and when I do, I try to save them. So around like Christmas, I can go home for like a week or something.
Yeah.
So I was like not trying to get my hopes up that the Chiefs were going to go to the Super Bowl because obviously the past couple of years they made it to playoffs and then they lose. And
To the
it's
Patriots.
yes. So I was just like, let me not get my hopes up. I don't want to like request days off to go home. Like they're probably not going to make it. And my dad has been saying since I was 5 years old, if the Chiefs ever make the Super Bowl, I'm having the biggest Super Bowl party you've ever seen. And we're always like, Dad, you're jinxing it. It's never going to happen. So then they win. And then they have one more round. And my sister's like, okay, if they go Super Bowl, like I'm coming home. She lives in Boston. So I was like, okay, if they go, I'm going to come home too. But then I think about, I work weekends and the Super Bowl, like, why would they let me take off? Like, that I have to work. That would be wrong.
Yeah.
So they made a Super Bowl. I texted my boss. I was like, hi. My news director is the most chillest, nice guy. If I ever want to take vacation days off, he always approves it. I mean, like everyone knows I live far, so they're not going to hold me hostage. Like they are so understanding about when I want to take days off. So I was like, but the weekend's hard to find people to work because everyone works Monday through Friday. So I was like, I want to surprise my family and go home. And he was like, okay, let's talk about it tomorrow. And I was like, he's going to say no. So I went into his office the next day. I was like, Jim, can I please go home to Super Bowl? He was like, yeah, take PTO. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to go home for one day. So I was like, I'm going to go home Saturday morning. No, I'm going to go home. No, I flew home the day of the Super Bowl. So I took like a 5 a.m. flight on Sunday and came back Monday morning because I only took 2 days off from work. So no one knew. My parents had no idea. I paid like $400 for a flight. I was just like, whatever. And I worked the night before till like 11. I came home, didn't go to sleep, drove to the airport, got on a plane without anyone knowing except my sister because she was going to pick me up at the airport. Landed, they picked me up, and I just surprised my family. And that was literally one of the best days of my life. Like surprising my family for the Super Bowl and then them winning, even if they lost, it would still be amazing. But then they won. And everyone was like, you spent $400 to go home for one day, 24 hours. I was like, it's worth it. I'm telling you. And then they won. And it was like the best day of my life for sure. I will never forget that. Like, it was so great. And it was like a good game.
No, it was definitely exciting. And
That was like the best day. I'm really happy I did that. With this job, like if you have the opportunity to go home, you just have to.
No,
And
it's
I was like, and it was supposed to be the Yankees here, but now I feel like baseball is just.
That was so sad. The worst too is
baseball gonna happen or what? Like,
yeah, who knows?
They're saying it's gonna, but I feel like it's gonna happen for a week and then it's gonna stop or something.
That's honestly the thing I miss most is just like it's a nice day here, and I'm just like could be at Yankee Stadium.
Exactly, because you can get such cheap Yankee tickets just to go like on short notice, just go sit on the bleachers. The best time.
So good. But no, it sucks. And hopefully sports resumes soon. Um, so I have one more question and then we'll move into something else. But if you could go back to Niki from a year ago, what advice would you give
I would
yourself?
say don't stress because everything actually falls into place. Everyone said the job that you're supposed to take, you'll just know, don't stress. I wish I just like didn't have a panic attack every time I got a job offer, and I just like enjoyed that I got job offers because I was always just like panicking. And that's why I try to tell Kate, I'm like, if you get a job offer, think about it, but you don't have to take it because
Mm-hmm.
you'll know. If you're not like excited about it and you're not like jumping out of your skin, then it's not the one for you. You'll know.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell myself that, but honestly, I think I did a good job of enjoying the time I had at home, and I'm happy I didn't rush into anything and I got to stay home till August because I don't have any regrets of like my senior year. I feel like I did everything, and I feel like I did the exact amount I should have in college of like getting experience. Like my real, I feel like was fine, everything.
Mm-hmm.
I would just say not to stress and not to like be so emotionally unstable when I got here. Not to worry too much. Things are always fine.
Also, you've in the last, I guess, like 3 years, you've lived in three very unique locations in our country: Rhode Island, New Jersey, and Texas.
Yep.
What is like, I guess, what is your favorite thing about each one of them?
Okay,
Uh,
Rhode Island is just like Rhode Island is the best state ever. I love it. It's the best. Like it's so pretty, and we didn't even realize that we were like living at the beach because it was cold. But then in the summer last year, I spent like a lot of time in Rhode Island, just like seeing my friends and stuff. I wanted to always be there, and like in the summer, it's so different.
mm-hmm.
So to be there in the summer is like so pretty, and we didn't even know. And like living with our friends, like we kind of take it for granted that we're like living at the beach. But I just think Rhode Island's probably like, the most pretty state that people. It's just underrated. Like people don't know how pretty it is.
Mm-hmm.
Jersey is just like a lifestyle. Like it's all I know. I will never take for granted pizza and bagels because the pizza here is like Domino's. Like no, I don't. I haven't eaten pizza once, except if it's like frozen pizza. I don't get pizza. Bagels, like I would actually die for like a bacon, egg, and cheese right now. Like, and the fact that like I'm not near water right now, like I'm not near the beach is weird. But Texas, I actually really like Texas. When I first got here, I was like, this state is so weird. It's like a different country. I don't think I would ever live here. Okay, maybe in like Dallas or Austin. I know people like I haven't spent time there, but Central Texas is just like it's very different than we are at home. It's I guess all of Texas like spread out, and everyone is like so country, and it's just like, oh, I'm not. I stick out. Like people know the second I say something that I'm not from here. So like I don't think I'm gonna find my husband here and want to like raise my kids in Texas. I mean, you never know, but I just doubt that's happening. So it's just like it's so different. There's the culture. It's just like the things they do is so different that we would never be acting like this. Like it's just so different. So I just Rhode Island, New Jersey are very similar. We thought it was different. We're just like, oh my God, people from New England are so different, but it's like not. It's the
Yeah,
same.
they
Everyone's the
just
same.
have accents, different
Yeah.
accents.
Everything's the same. Here it's like a different country. Like
Mm-hmm.
the East Coast is all the same from like Delaware up. And then here it's just like, oh my gosh, this is Texas is not even like the South. It's just Texas.
Jersey, I will say though, if you ask a Rhode Islander, it gets a lot of hate for no reason.
No, but then if they came to Texas, they would realize that Jersey and Rhode Island are literally the same. It's literally the same thing. But I mean, you're from Westchester; it's the same thing as Jersey.
Oh yeah. All right. So last part, I call it the fast break, just because that's where it was invented in Rhode Island. Obviously not there. Sad. But so I'm just gonna ask you a bunch of questions, and you can go as quick as slow as you want. Whatever, doesn't matter. All right. What was the biggest shock about Texas? Like you mentioned, like what was like for me with Rhode Island was like people call water fountains bubblers.
The heat.
Really?
No, you've never experienced anything like this. It's May right now. I was doing a story at the zoo the other day. The bottom of my Nike sneakers melted. The bottom of my shoes have asphalt stuck to the bottom. I was like, it's so hot, and everyone thinks it's not that hot. It's like 110 degrees. Everyone's like not even sweating. I'm dripping. I don't even sweat. I'm like, this is Yes, the Heat is the number one. And I mean, obviously people have accents and stuff, but you expect that. The Heat, you've never expected to be hit like a brick with the weather.
Favorite social media platform?
Instagram for personal reasons and Twitter for work reasons. I got verified on Twitter, also highlighted my career.
Favorite sporting event you've gotten to cover?
College game day, football and basketball was both cool, but I think that football was a little cooler.
Best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
90% of things you worry about never happen. I think it's 90 or like 92, but literally
happens. You already sort of talked about it, but what's your favorite thing about you or I?
Oh my God. I love that place. The people, the location, everything. If I had to literally pick another school, I would never pick any other school other than Rhode Island. That place is literally like my heart and soul. I love that place. Don't even get me started. I'll start crying.
We'll just have one more question about it. But what's your favorite you or I athletics memory? Oh my God, I can't speak. Favorite athletic memory from you or I?
Going to the NCAA tournament. That was so cool. Were you there?
No.
Oh, that was the best.
We were supposed to go this year, but something happened. What is one sports thing that's on like your bucket list? Like it's something covering, going to something.
I want to try to cover a Super Bowl, a World Series, like every championship. Like, I mean, NBA, I'm not like a big NBA girl. Like, I'd rather cover a Final Four than an NBA Finals, but definitely a World Series if it's Yankees. I don't care about anything else. A Super Bowl, any team would be cool, and a Final Four, any team would be cool. Like college basketball, I want to go back to the NCAA tournament, which I think I will in my career.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love college basketball. That's my number one, like sport, other than the Yankees, obviously.
You definitely don't want to cover the finals now that the New Jersey Nets aren't a thing.
Oh my God, I was like an avid fan as a kid.
And then who do you most admire in your line of work?
Let me think. I love like Tracy Wolfson. I think she's such a good role model. I've met her before and she's always like so helpful. And I think like Diana Rossini, all of those ESPN sideline reporters, like their stories, a lot of them started out in news and they worked their way up. And also a lot of them are like way older than you think. So I feel like when I see them, I'm just like, how do they already have this? They're like not that much older than me and then they're like 40. But all of them are so helpful. So I feel like any sideline reporter, I hope to one day be able to do that. But I love Tracy Wolfson. She's like my number one girl. And Doris Burke. But like, I feel like I can't be like Doris Burke because she is like an athlete. So she has like a different path than me, you know? Like I can't relate to her, but she's the GOAT.
She used to call games at URI.
Really? Oh,
yeah, she used to call women's games because she went to PC.
No. Like good for her, but I just
All right, so that'll do it. Thanks, Niki, obviously. You can give her a follow on Twitter, Niki Lattarulo with 1K. You have anything you want to plug? Anything you want to say?
No, if you're an aspiring reporter, just trust the process because don't get discouraged. You're probably gonna get like 100 no's or ignored emails. And then it only takes one person to say yes for you to get started in the business. So don't get discouraged ever.
All right. Well, thank you, Niki. Hope you stay safe and happy in Texas.
The pandemic.
And that'll do it. So episode 9 is over.